Hello, Diane King. How are you?
I am fine. That's my standard answer now for the past 18 months. I'm fine. I'm good.
We're here, so we're good, right?
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you tell our viewers and studio owners who you are, a little bit about yourself?
Great. As Brian said, I'm Diane King, and I am currently the executive director of Broadway Dance Center. And we have two locations now in Midtown and one in Lincoln Center for children and teens. And I've been at BDC for almost 25 years now, which seems like such a long time. Um, but yeah, it's probably, and I grew up in South Africa, but now I've spent more time in New York than I did growing up. So,
How did the pandemic affect your business, being a dance studio owner?
um, well, I think the biggest thing for us is as a studio, we have a lot of real estate. So, and having two studios, all that real estate, we've got a lot of staff, and then suddenly not being able to have students walk in your door and take classes, suddenly you have no income coming in. First you panic, then you think quietly, how are we going to do this? You know, our biggest expenses are our staff payroll and rent. So it was sort of tackling those two things. And the staff and the faculty, and that's always the hardest one because you're worrying, not only about yourself and all those responsibilities, but these people who make a living at your business. Um, so it was, I I feel like every step of the way this past 18 months, I've had to make these decisions that I thought I'd never be making. And it's been tough. It's been tough, but we have made it through. We've had to make some tough choices, laying off staff, and then the remaining staff cutting everybody's. I think we did like a 25% cut of everybody's salaries, and we're still in that. And then asking the teachers to take less when we were doing live stream classes. Um, but I think the silver lining of all of that, not the silver lining, but to see everybody come together as a community was wonderful. Everyone sort of understood what was going on. And if we didn't all sort of come together and work together, we wouldn't have got through it. So it was really a team effort. I mean, we're still in the midst of it. Um, and I also think, real estate and our rent is a huge number in our expenses. But being able to sort of work with different landlords and just keep going, and everybody's in this situation. It was really, I don't know, sort of gave us hope in humanity that people were understanding and knew that, we have been a successful business for 35 years, and this was not poor business decisions or students weren't coming to our business because of us. It was this specific pandemic. And so, we could convince and talk to these landlords like, sort of person to person that we're going to get through this. I'm doing everything we can. Here are all the things that we're doing. We're going to get to the other side.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I don't think people understand until you have employees and students and other people that count on you for their for their for their sanity.
Yeah.
Like when I was a dancer, if I couldn't take dance class, I can't even imagine. I mean, what would I be doing? It
Yeah.
just that's all you do, and that's who you are. I only had like two employees here at the photography studio,
Yeah.
and I had to lay them off too during all of this, and it really crushed me. Just two.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the psychological, which is kind of going into the next question, is what is the psychological effect for the students and your employees during this?
Well, and especially at the start of lockdown, you were just I think there was that sort of 12-week period where we really were just staying, at least in New York, just we had to stay home. And it was very isolating. People who lived alone were really having a tough time. And, initially we thought, oh, it's going to be a 2-week lockdown. Then we very quickly realized it wasn't going to be that way. What were we doing next? How were we going to try and have live stream classes that would help sort of supplement us, to go forward? And honestly, I was shocked at the response to the live stream Zoom classes. Because at first the teachers were in their living rooms. We tried to always we gave the teachers a training for the Zoom, like, okay, don't use your iPhone. It's not, we still want to give people that sort of little bit of professional, something that they expect from BDC. So we would have somebody helping with giving them a training on the tech, how they should use the speakers, their headphones, where they should stand, backlight, so that there was sort of this consistent quality experience. And I think as we went through it, it was really the connection, the connection that the teacher was having with the students. And I know for the teachers, the Zoom classes are hard because you almost have to over, produce, and you have to be, vocal and loud, and you're just looking at this TV screen where everyone's muted. It takes so much. If you talk to Sheila Barker during that period, she was like, I am in the best shape of my entire life because I have really had to, dance and demonstrate on those on the screen. So, we saw it. It almost gave us this boost in confidence, because at that time we didn't know how long this was going. I was looking at our bank account going, okay, how many more months can we go through? I'm sort of very fiscally conservative. So every year I make sure we're starting out in both of the studios. We have a nice savings so that if something does happen, I have, 5-6 months of rent and expenses to get us through. So let's just say that's completely gone now. And we were able to get the PPP loan, which was also another boost. But then as soon as we could see that we could start to get sort of out and about, and the city was allowing live stream, like businesses to be open for live stream recordings, Reese Snow, who's my associate director, is just so smart with the technicals, sound, everything on top of he does. So he worked out sort of what was the best camera. Let's put a mixer in there so the sound, get microphones, but how we want to, how could the headsets be used by 60 different people with all the, hygienes, sanitizing everything. So everybody got their individual little windscreen to go on. So and then we were encouraging the faculty, our teachers, to come in so we could film and live stream from the studio. So we could control the lighting, the sound. We had a host doing an introduction. And it was great. I mean, we weren't obviously having the same amount of business, et cetera, that we would do when we're open, but it kept us going, and it kept, everybody employed. It kept people with their income. And then, my accountant is like, you just need to close the entire place for 4 months so you have no expenses. And I'm like, well, that's just not like, yes, on paper, that sounds like something that you would do with all the huge expenses, but it didn't make sense, and it wouldn't have worked for us. We had to keep the hope. We had to keep, even from taking the teachers from their living rooms into the studio, the students online got excited to see, like, there's the studio. It's the next step. Will the next step be that we can get back into classes? So
I think like I told you, my sister has a studio too, she has a
yes,
Taekwondo studio, and they did the same thing. And whether they were doing like contests or something just to give hope to these kids that really look up to going to class and look up to their teachers and the studio. It's just so
yes.
important to keep it going, like you said, and keep the hope, because if you lose hope, then what are we going to do?
And it's like in years gone by, you would kind of get, the Yelp reviews where people are like, oh, it's to this, complaining. And during this period, we just got the most amazing, emails and testimonials and reviews that it was sort of keeping people sane, and it was so great
Wow.
to hear. And that would honestly, that would feed us, because from day to day, and a lot of people went away too. So there were just a few of us in studio and who were coming in. I mean, Midtown, it's a little better now, but it was not the prettiest place last year.
Oh,
With
I remember I'm on 38th Street, and I'm by
yeah,
Port Authority. So it was, yeah. So, I
yeah.
mean,
So
moving forward, for like business continuity plans to keep you fiscally sustainable moving forward, are you going to continue like the virtual because to me, that's awesome. Like if I were still teaching, to know that I have students that are in Spain or Japan online with me, I think that's wicked cool and very
yeah.
forward thinking.
So we
Is that
are.
something
So
that you're going to continue? Sorry.
yes, we're going to continue the live stream, and then we also launched a video on demand called BDC Online, and we've talked about that in the past, but we just never were like, is that us? Where do we focus our resources? But if anything, the pandemic has pushed us to get there sooner, and seeing that it worked. Like we know that people can and want to take classes online if they can't get to, a dance studio. So that has been something, we just we launched it in July, BDC Online, and we're going to be adding content and hope to see that grow, sort of in a way that then doesn't need us to add on real estate. I mean, that's something too, looking at,
Right.
yeah, as well, obviously no one wants a pandemic, but it's sort of forced us to look at what we have, what we're doing, where can we streamline our processes, to really be as efficient as possible and really focused on what we're doing.
Wow. Like if I was like before I moved here, well, there was no internet at that time. There wasn't even internet that I remember. It would be cool to like, if you come and you take classes with your favorite teacher, Sheila Barker or Debbie Wilson, but I can, I'll go back to Michigan. I can continue taking classes with those people and feel like even though it's just online, I feel like I'm a part of it. So I think that's kind of cool. I love, I understand the interaction. A lot of teachers want the hands-on, and I love the energy in class. But I mean, it's pretty cool that you can do it online too and still be a part of it.
Yes, and I don't think one replaces the other, because you certainly can't replicate what's happening in the classroom, with your teacher, getting that feedback, the energy. So sort of a supplement, and knowing that people enjoy it. I mean, actually, while we were doing the live stream classes without the in-person, I mean, we had students who were like, I used to come up when Frank was teaching, and this is so exciting. I'm here dancing with Sheila. So it was just to know all the people that you've touched over the years as a school. It felt good.
Sheila was one of my teachers too.
Yeah, we certainly needed, we needed all those stories and all those bright moments to, okay, why are we doing this? Let's just, should we declare bankruptcy and move on? But that was never something to consider.
Oh, that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
What is virtual learning like? I mean, as far as, because I haven't done it, as far as trying to learn. I mean, I go on YouTube to learn things, and I know it's not exactly the same, but do the teachers actually talk to the screen? Are they just following? What is it like?
No, so with the Zoom, so you do have live stream, which is just sort of students watching and the teacher is teaching. The Zoom live stream, really, the teacher is looking at the students on the screen and giving corrections, and always, it's so wonderful in the beginning, where are people from, to make that connection with the people on the screen so that they feel like they are with the teacher, sort of that type of bonding and encouragement. I think really it's the connection. It's the connection the teacher has with the students. You have to use your other senses. Yeah.
Really good internet too.
Yes.
For the timing, right, of the music. Because if someone gets behind, if their internet's lagging too far, it's like, did they get that? I'm not sure if they're on the right count.
Exactly. And then the mirroring, which was wonderful
the mirroring. I didn't even think about that.
So once we were able to bring it into the studio with the cameras, and we have it through a software that you can mirror with the camera, so then it's much easier than. Then at first we confused all the teachers because they're like, you didn't tell me it wasn't mirrored, it's mirrored, and now I did my choreography the other way. So, yes, there was always something. And then, and then it was masks, and now it's vaccine mandates, and it's almost like a new challenge comes every few weeks. And
So what is BDC doing as far as the mandate? Because I know a lot of businesses, you can't even go to the gym now without showing your
so we are
vaccination card.
Yeah, we're beginning that on September 6th, which is Monday, a few Mondays from now. And, I think it's a push to get everyone vaccinated, obviously, and make the space feel safe. And no, it's we posted about it on Instagram the other day, and I don't think we got that many comments. It's not me.
But you know what? I know. But, I can say going to the gym and knowing that everybody is vaccinated does make me feel I am fully vaccinated. I did get COVID last year. Thank God it was it was a mild case before Delta came out and was kicking butt. To each their own if they want to get vaccinated or not. I do feel like the numbers are there if you just look at the science.
Yes.
But that's, a personal opinion, so I don't want to get into my personal opinion. But for businesses, I think you feel safer going into an establishment where everybody's fully vaccinated.
Yeah, and even during when we were able to reopen to in person, we had to have all these procedures, cleaning logs, and, a box of 500 masks at your front desk. Everyone had to be masked. And we would get inspected all the time. We just didn't know whether the guy was on our route or something. He walked by us and he would come in and, Vanessa would have to run down and, we'd have to take the guy around, and he's like, oh, everything looks great. So they're going to be doing the same thing with the mandate. So, we're in the midst of creating our new binder, and it is hard. I don't want to, I don't want to tell people what to do, obviously, but we do want to, at this point, keep the business, in business. Got to keep that studio running. Yeah. And I just want to see the back of COVID, if this helps.
Yeah. Wow. I thought 9/11 was crazy. This is being here when 9/11 happened. That was crazy, but nothing. I never thought anything would top that in New York. This is just, wow. It's just so draining. And I think it really, like I said before, it really kind of opens everything up. And the people that are meant to be artists, who are meant to be studio owner, those are the ones that are going to survive. Like my sister, that's who she is. She's a Taekwondo grandmaster, and nobody's going to tell her she can't have a studio. And she is their mother and their grandmaster. All those kids, they look up to her, and she feels like she needs to keep it open for the kids, not just herself.
Yeah.
So, I feel the same way. Like I was like, how am I going to sign my lease? This is kind of scary, but I'm like, this is who I am. And I appreciate BDC sticking around, because I don't know what I would have done without BDC. when I was
Oh,
training. It was
thanks,
my
Dee.
everything. I was there 6 days a week. I really was. I don't know if you know this. This is a cool story. When I was going to teach my class, I think I told you this. I was walking through and somebody at the front desk said, "Hey, BT, some guy needs a choreographer that does hip hop and ballet." And I'm like, "Hip hop and ballet?" And they gave the phone to me for some reason. And it was David Guest, which later led to Michael Jackson being choreographer for him. But if I wasn't at Broadway Dance Center teaching, I would have never, that opportunity.
And there have been, and there still are some amazing stories like that. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I really appreciate everything Broadway Dance Center has done for New York and the dance world.
Thank you. And I think we all feel like we didn't have a choice. There was no moment where you could be, this is too hard, I give up. You had to move forward, but also knowing that you're not alone. Like, no one can do this alone. You have to be able to, if you're having a bad day, you lean on that person next to you, whether it be at home or within the studio. There's a few of us at the studio have been, we're working 6-7 days a week, and it's been grueling. But to know when you're like, okay, I'm not in such a good place, I'm going to step back for a minute, you step forward. And it's been sort of inspiring almost. That we have such a good
kind of going
team.
into the next question of networking with other studios, because I know a lot of studios are in competition and a lot of studios have come together during this. I know my sister with some of the Taekwondo studios, they're like, how are you doing over there? And, there's enough students for everybody. It's not so much. And if it's competitive, it's for something good. It's like, oh, they're doing that?
Exactly.
Well, we're going to do it better. It's more for fun. So do you think it's important for the studios to be able to network especially during this time?
Yes. And actually, if you know Pavan from PMT, he reached out to Steps, Perry, BDC, and several other studios to see if we wanted to form an alliance of studios. So we did that at the start of the pandemic, the Dance Studio Alliance, and it's been a great way to sort of collectively what were the safety things that we needed to do for a dance studio. Now, what are the new sets of rules? What are the exemptions for the vaccinations? It's been great to sort of go back and forth. And, I would Steps would be our, nearest competitor, Steps, Perry Dance. And I think we've sort of bounced things off each other. I'd be like, Joe, what are you doing here? He's like, what are you? So it's been good. And I think our identities are sort of just different enough that we can all thrive.
I definitely agree.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. What other innovative and creative ways have you done to fiscally sustain your business? Besides just the virtual, is there any other things that you would, to our studio owners, because that's what this is for?
Yeah, I think what was good and helpful for us was that the children's studio, we could sort of separate that from the indoor fitness. So we were able to open there slightly sooner, have our summer camps with all the safety protocols in place, social distancing and masks. And honestly, the kids don't bat an eyelid at the masks. They wear them all day without, it's the adults that are the tricky ones. But I think being able to push through and sort of rely on the children and the parents wanting their young ones to still have that socialization. I mean, I have a daughter who's an only child, and we did the remote learning during that period, and it wasn't great for her because she didn't have siblings, and I saw her sort of going into herself. And so we were very happy when she could go back to school and be with her friends and even do the camp for us. And then other innovation, Yeah, probably I think it has pushed us more into the online. What can we do beyond the classroom? And then also just really looking at our organizational structure, where we were, what do we really need, what had we placed value on that might not seem as important now, you know, then as it is now. Yeah, but it's, when you've had to cut your staff and things like that, it also puts pressure on what are the new things that you can do, because everybody's mentally and physically strained. Like it's hard to ask people to give more and more and more when everybody's sort of having personal
Yeah.
issues. Yeah, the pandemic has brought on so much, not just within the workplace, but in your own personal lives. Yeah.
And tagging on that, I do believe mindset is so important. And I always think that you have two choices, or I feel like you have two choices. You're either you're gonna or you're gonna swim. So like there's no in between. You
Yeah.
might be struggling, or you'll be struggling for a long time to get there.
Yes.
So you can either do it and be positive and the best that you can, and not give up, and focus on the art as opposed to just the money. Because I think when you get caught up too much in the money,
Yeah.
you sabotage yourself. And
Yeah.
when you think bigger, like I got the PPP too, and it come last minute, and it really helped me and saved me. So going into the next question, how do you transform these obstacles into what I think are opportunities?
Um, let's see. Well, definitely, I think the being able to streamline all our practices, what software within the business that we're using. Um, we don't need 5 people working on this. Can it be done by one person? Because now that's all we have. And what was my other thing I was going to say? Well, even just, yes, sort of the mindset of, we're going through a hard time, but just sort of giving up is not going to help. So it's almost like you wake up every day and you go, okay, yesterday wasn't the best day. Today is a new day, starting off on the right foot. And and it's a very, we work with a lot of artists and artist personalities, and I feel like I was with like
Personality.
a people pleaser, so I want to, like understand people, talk to them. What are their problems? How can I solve them? And that's been difficult during this period, because there is only so much of me that I can sort of spread around. So it's been, sort of like we're, I can't get to that right now. We're doing the best that we can. I think Vanessa and myself in the office, that's sort of our motto. We're doing the best that we can, and we'll get to it if we can, and or we'll just have to put that aside for now. But yeah, and I think it's been knowing that we've been able to get through this, I think has changed a lot of people's perspectives and what they can do, how strong they are, how resilient everybody is. I know the word resilience is sort of thrown around, but it is. I think as humans, it's incredible the situations we can adapt to. And I hope I don't want us just to go back to the norm or how things were before. I think we have learned a lot, and to sort of take those lessons through, to the next stage once this all is behind us, if it ever is behind us.
Yeah, well said. I'm right there with you, and I do believe this is. I don't know why I believe this is an opportunity for something greater and bigger, but I do. I feel it. I don't know how to explain it. It's just something I feel. I feel like we need to go through this to get to a different place.
Yes. It's like I think it's sort of highlighted what is important for each of us, what is meaningful, what are the silly things we can just leave behind and sort of go forward with purpose. And I think you touched on also the social issues that had taken place. And had the pandemic not happened, maybe we wouldn't have looked at things so closely. And, it allows you to sort of take a bit of a, not that, doing a million things, but it allows you to sort of take a deep dive into, hey, we could be doing better on this front, or, hey, we've got our musical theater, there are no women, we have no, it's like the different, just, sort of looking at the whole picture and, how do we do better?
Well, it is nice to see more women in charge. I have to say that. And like yourself. And say hi to Allison. And, I come from a family of very strong women, and I was raised by all women. So I mean, kudos to the ladies. I think they should be running everything. I'm a fan. But moving into the future, what does the future hold for Broadway Dance Center and yourself? And sounds like the virtual thing is here to stay, and this is exciting.
Yes, I think that's where we will sort of be focusing on that portion, not just sort of we're doing the sort of the hybrid classes now where it's in person and online. My goal is to sort of separate that so that in person is purely in person, and you're not having to, look at the TV screen. It's tough for the teacher. It's like they're doing double duty. They're enjoying it now, but my goal would be to have a schedule, like a daily schedule of live stream classes that people could join in from anywhere. And then just, from sort of the business perspective is really looking at, how much space do we have? Are we maximizing that space? Is this the right space? And, those things will go through as we get to, the end of leases. And, but, and wherever, my goal would also be to keep the studio going, whether, because I always have this thing of like, when I'm 60, can I be working as hard as I am now? I don't know. But who is the next generation of people who are leading the studio, sort of working on that, bringing people up so that the studio can continue as Broadway Dance Center. It doesn't have to be attached to me or Allison or Richard, that there is sort of a strong, passionate person who is leading the studio for the next generation of dancers.
Excellent. And lastly, we're at our last little question. Do you have anything else that you want to add to the topic of thriving during a pandemic for our studio owners? Any advice or anything that you want to share with them?
I think what I had sort of said early is that, you're not alone. I think the more that you reach out to your group, you may just be an owner with a few teachers. I think relying on those teachers, so you're able to sort of form that sort of team. I think sometimes owners, you feel like you're alone because you have to make these financial business decisions that may be, in opposition to, the artist. And so that's tough, but people understand and don't sell people short. Share and lean on people, and they can give you the strength to push through.
Thank you so much, Diane King, for joining me today. This was amazing.
Thank you, Brian.
So I think maybe that's where we're headed, and I'm glad we could talk about this and hopefully give some hope to some of the studio owners that I know are having difficult times right now.
Yes, and I can only imagine. I know. Thank you, Brian.